Good morning, scholars. Today we're going to continue our way through Book 1 of Herodotus, looking at the particles, that is, the sentence adverbs, in chapter 11, the Queen's Counterplot. So look at lesson 012a first so that you understand what's going on in the passage. But here we go. Now, I want to just read this bit from Smythe about the importance of the particles so you realize why I'm paying such attention to them. Smythe writes at 2771, Greek has an extraordinary number of sentence adverbs, or particles in the narrow sense, having a logical or emotional, that is, rhetorical value. Either alone or in combination, these sentence adverbs give a distinctness to the relation between ideas, which is foreign to other languages, and often resist translation by separate words, which in English are frequently over-emphatic and cumbersome in comparison to the light and delicate nature of the Greek originals, like ara, ge, toi. The force of such words is frequently best rendered by pauses, stress, or alternations of pitch. To catch the subtle and elusive meaning of these often apparently insignificant elements of speech challenges the utmost vigilance and skill of the student. So these words are really quite important to your deeper, more delicate understanding of Greek. And reading, for instance, I think the best example that comes to mind for me is Plato. When you read Plato's dialogues, I mean, basically the humor, the larger part of the humor is invested or expressed in the way the particles work. And so if you're not reading the particles and getting their sense, you're missing how funny actually the Platonic dialogues can be. And that's why in English translation they tend to be rather humorless and flat compared to anyone whose Greek is good enough to read them with the awareness of what the particles are doing. So that's why I'm paying such attention to these little things, because they will pay off when you are reading the rhetorical writers like Plato, Demosthenes, or Thucydides' speeches. Okay. Al etoi kenon geto tauta buleusanta de abalustai, e se ton emegumnen de examenon kai poiesanta u nomes domina. Hode gaiges teos men apetomazde ta legomena, metade hicetiu me men anakae in de en diakrinae toiauten irisen, uk unde epete al hora anakae en aletheos proskemenen e ton despotea apolunai e auton hup alon apolustai. Haeretai autos perienai. Eperota de legon tade. Epe me anankastes despotea ton emon tenen uk etelonta. Pere accuso teo kai tropoi per epike resom men autoi. Hede hupolabusa epe. Ek tu autu men koriu he horme estai, hoten per kai egenos, eme epedexato gumnen. Hupno manoi de he epikeresis estai. Okay, so the first significant particle is this he toi in her reply. Al etoi kenon ge. And so Denniston tells us at page 548 and 553 that toi is often combined with other particles. Toi stands second of the two particles. That is, it's following the hey here, either or. Hey, toi, hey. On the one hand, there is not much cohesion between toi and the other particle. Toi brings home the point to the person addressed. While the other particle retains its normal force. So a toi a is common in Plato and Aristotle, and it is difficult to say what degree of vividness toi possesses here. Strictly, toi serves to bring home a truth of which the certainty is expressed by a, verily I tell you. So I don't know what I did here. I think I confused a toi, which we saw in Homer. So you can look around the first book of the Iliad and see the a toi being used. Whereas this a toi, a is just like it says, bringing home to Gyges that this is really kind of like, he's really, better can think about this. Al etoi kenon ge ton tauta buleu santa de a palustai e se ton me gumnen de e samenon kai poie santa u nomis domena. Okay, so the next is the onde in sentence 4 of this section, and note that the omega nun on equals what you'd see in Attic as un, and so Denniston tells us, page 469, that un de or de un, the combinations, very common in Herodotus and Plato, are rarely found elsewhere. Never in the tragedians except for unde in Sophocles. Klotz observes that in Attic, that is Plato, they are especially used in questions. Okay, and so obviously, so this is a good example of where, like as I said, the particles become rather important to giving you the rhetorical flavor of what's going on in Plato. Herodotus, on the other hand, employs onde to mark a new and decisive turn in an extended narrative. So, uk onde epete al hora. He was not, however, persuasive. He did not, however, persuade al hora, but saw. So you might look back over the Herodotus that we've read so far and find the instances of onde, because it's very common in Herodotus where he has, like I put it here, uses it to mark a new or decisive turn in an extended narrative. Okay. Next, aerete autos perinei. He himself chose to survive. Erota de legontade. Now, this is an example Denniston tells us of connective de, which he treats at page 237 to 38. So, quoting Denniston, the connective use of de can be derived without difficulty from its emphatic use. The evolution is helped by the commonness of such openings to sentences as huto da, intauta da. Here, the demonstrative adverb is in itself a sufficient link, as shown, for instance, by Xenophon's free use of huto, intauta, and so on, at the beginning of the sentence without a connecting particle. But the employment of da to strengthen the adverb may have tended to give the particle a measure of connective force. The connective use of de can be derived then without difficulty from its emphatic use. The connective use plays a big part in Greek literature. De here, like expresses post hoc and propter hoc, both after this and on account of this, and anything in between the two, tending on the whole to denote a less strictly logical sequence than So we have in this instance, haeretai autos perienai. He makes this decision that he is going to live, i.e., that he's going to kill his master. So he has to ask, perota de legontade. And so this de connects this question with the decision that he made internally in the words before. Okay. Now, so in prose, connective de gains ground rapidly during the 4th century. Herodotus has it, but not very often. Sometimes de follows a demonstrative adverb, which, as remarked above, constitutes a sufficient connection in itself. Huto de, enta de, entauta de. But in other passages, de is unmistakably connective, usually conveying temporal rather than logical sequence, which is what we have here. Haeretai autos perienai, eperota de legontade. So temporal rather than logical sequence. Now, the next one, this use of kai, is my favorite of the three, and you'll see why in a second. Epe me anakastes despote aton elmontenen uk etelonta, pere akuso, te o kai tropoi, epike re somen autoi. First, I just want to remark that I only, literally about a while ago, realized this akuso here is actually a first aorist subjunctive of the first person. So it's a hortatory subjunctive. Come, let me hear. Okay, so pere akuso. We've seen the use of pere to right before imperative or an imperativo expression, and akuso, the hortatory subjunctive, let me hear, is such a word. But so here, what's doing with this kai, te o kai tropoi, epi ke re soma autoi. Denniston tells us, page 313, in cases of kai following an interrogative, the questioner asks for supplementary information, as in kaitis, but the placing of the particle after the interrogative gives stress to the addition. The effect is usually produced in English by an inflection of the voice. So, pere akuso te o kai tropoi, epike re somai autoi. This is an indirect question, but come, let me hear how we're going to attack him. Literally, in what manner, how we shall attack him. So the reason why I enjoy this one, because the additional example that Denniston gave is from Plato's Euthyphro. This is the beginning of it, where Socrates and Plato are going back and forth, and Socrates is being a bit mischievous and rhetorically playing around, ironically, with Euthyphro. So Euthyphro replies, "Bouloi man ein, O Socrates, al rodo me tunantio genetai. Ateknos gar moi doke ep hestias archestai katurgen ten bolen epikeiron adikein se. Kai me lege ti kai poiunta se base diapteren tus neus. So this is the bit where, again, Socrates, with deep irony, says that he thinks that his accuser is actually going to do great things in Athens as a politician, because there's nothing more important than how you educate and bring up the youth, and he's attacking Socrates for corrupting the youth. And so Euthyphro then has to say, well, I wish that were the case, i.e. that this guy's going to do great things, but I fear that the opposite is about to happen, for quite plainly, he seems to me, from the hearth, from the very core, from the central point, of the city, to begin to do harm to our state, trying to attack you, trying to wrong you. Kai moi lege, and tell me, ti kai poiunta. So this kai asks for this additional information, placed as it is after the interrogative. Ti kai poiunta se base diapteren tus neus. And what is it doing that he says that you are corrupting the youth? So again, I like this one simply because it takes us into Plato and the Euthyphro, but this placement of the kai after the interrogative. Okay, so let's read the passage one last time. Kai etoi kenon geton tauta buleusanta de apalustai, e se ton eme gumnen de e samenon, kai poiesanta u nomis domina. Hode gaiges teos men apeto masde ta legomena, metade hiketue me men anakai e ende ein diakrinai toiauten hyresen. Uk unde epete, al hora anakai ein ale de os prokemenen, e ton despotea apolunai e auton hupalon apolustai. Hyre etai autos perienai, eperota de legon tade. Epe me anakasdes despotea tonemon tenen uk etelonta, bere akuso deo kai torpoi epikereso men autoi. Hede hupolabusa epe, ek tu autu men kori u, he horme estai, hotem per kai ekenos eme epedexato gumnen. Hup no manoi de he epikereses estai. Okay, so here again we have this wonderful picture of Gyges kneeling before the queen, begging her mercy, and of course she's implacable because her shame has been greatly damaged, and she's enraged rightfully. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that deep dive into particles, Greek particles, and we will see as we move forward, if you haven't already seen, what great value the awareness of the particles provide in one's reading and figuring out not only the logical structure of passages, but more importantly, their rhetorical tense and emphases. Okay, so have a good day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.